pro side, you can start.
Oh, okay. Judges ready, opponent ready, team ready. My time starts now. As the pro side, we strongly negate the effectiveness of welfare programs over infrastructure buildings to elevate poverty. So a few definitions. Regarding poverty, we should separate it as absolute poverty and relative poverty. Relative poverty is when households receive 50% less than the average household incomes, and absolute poverty refers to a condition where a person does not have the minimum or amount of income needed to meet the minimum requirements for one or more basic living needs over an extended period of time. And infrastructure is a general term for the basic physical systems of a business, region, or nation. For instance, transportation systems, communication networks, and welfare refers to a range of government programs that provide financial or other aid to individuals or groups who cannot support themselves. The framework is that the side that can both elevate relative poverty and absolute poverty in the shortest amount of time wins this debate. Condition 1. Solving relative poverty. Subpoint 8. Unemployment insurance. Aiding employment is an important poverty reduction strategy in many countries' social welfare system, as the strategy can help empower the recipients with a better living standard, development, and social inclusion. Being a responsible government of a developing economy, the Chinese government has always paid attention to the employment situation of low-income groups and has traditionally maintained a reasonable living standard for low-income groups through measures like employment assistance and aid. However, the government has recently experimented with some proactive measures, including the introduction of public posts and the arrangement of spectrum of social assistance and aid. In order to fulfill China's precise poverty reduction strategy, the government has also carried out family budget investigations and then designed employment aid, monetary support, and employment services based on their findings. Subpoint B, pension. Asian population set impact to China drastically by 2050 with the number of people aged 65 and over, which will be rising by almost 200 million from 132 million in 2015 to 331 million in 2050. Clearly, China's population is aging quickly, which will have a strong impact within one generation. About 1 in 3 Chinese elderly report having poor health, and nearly 1 in 4 have consumption levels below the poverty line, according to findings released today from a landmark survey of Chinese adults aged 45 and over. And that's why pension is needed to support the aging population. Condition 2. Solving absolute poverty. Subpoint A. Education. First, female education. Boys are more likely than girls to attend school in rural China, and there's evidence that gender equality is a luxury good. The demand for female schooling is more income elastic than that for male schooling, and maternal education generally has a stronger effect on primary school enrollment and on educational expenditure than parental education does. But with welfare programs, these problems can be solved. To support girls' education in 2009, Zheng's school launched a vocational program, Jingle Class, exclusively for girls from poverty-stricken families across Hainan, and they had assistance from many partners, including provincial educational and financial departments, and the Hainan Women Federation and the Hainan Province Office of Poverty Alleviation. And from 2009 to 2016, a total of 7,914 young women were admitted to the school to learn vocational skills, and among them, 6,138 completed their studies, and most have become key employees at their workplaces as well as primary earners in their families. Subpoint B, healthcare. Maldistribution of health professionals between urban and rural areas have been a serious problem in China. Urban hospitals attract most of the health professionals with serious shortages in rural areas, and those doctors cannot meet the growing healthcare needs in rural areas because of their lack of refreshing medical knowledge, low education level, and fewer opportunities for educational training to enhance their performance. Also, in healthcare that is increasingly privatized and profit-driven, millions of people have less access to healthcare than they did 20 years ago, and those who cannot afford the fees are left under code. 2/3 of the population have no health insurance, and about 60 to 7% of the hospital patients are forced to end their treatment prematurely because they are unable to pay. And only with welfare, these problems can be solved, and the people can finally get good healthcare once again. And for all of the reasons above, we urge a pro ballot.
So judges ready? And opponents ready? My time starts now. As a con, we negate a resolution that in China, increased spending on welfare program is more effective at alleviating poverty than increased spending on public infrastructure. Definition: alleviate poverty, ensuring that the impoverished rural population has stable access to adequate food and clothing, compulsory education and basic medical services and housing, and find a solution to solve the poverty problem. Public infrastructure includes soft infrastructure and hard infrastructure. Hard infrastructure is a system of public facilities which provides the delivery of essential services and a sustained standard of living. Soft infrastructure are the benefits related to public infrastructure, like teachers in schools and doctors in hospitals. welfare programs. The government benefits distributed to impoverished persons to enable them to maintain the minimum standard of well-being, to investigate the province to prove that a welfare program brings people out of poverty and prevent them from falling back, while the economists prove that public infrastructure is better. Condition 1, economic benefits. Public infrastructure can bring economic benefits to both the village and individual. For the whole village city, public infrastructure can bring tourist industry, technology developments, and basic services. Then the village can get money, which would help alleviate poverty. For an individual, public infrastructure can provide job opportunity. It can solve the unemployed problem while letting the poor make a living by themselves. Therefore, poor people can take the money they earn with dignity. Based on the calculations through tourism economics, a division of Oxford Economics that works with over 105 cities to set up direct impact calculators. Economic impact raises when percentage of day trip and overnight attendance increases. And according to NSEA research packets, the PMI's job growth and talent gap report 2017 to 2027 found that global employers will need nearly 88 million individuals working in projects management roles by 2027. The target of creating 9 million jobs is rather a conservation one, given as many as 27 million urban workers has lost their jobs by March 2020, and 8.7 million college graduates are entering the labor market this year. Added to that, tens of millions of migrant workers are still yet to find jobs in return to their cities. All told, at least 20 million new jobs are needed, and China's 5G network and related investment will hit 3.5 trillion yuan and create 3 million jobs by 2025 to become a key part of the national economy. Overall, from 2013 to 2017, the number of people living in poverty in rural areas in China dropped from 98.99 million to 16.6 million. So as we can see, the opportunity public infrastructure give, they can elevate poverty sustainably. But for welfare program, it will just get money from the government. They don't know to pay back. It's like you're paying for black hole. Then the poverty numbers will not decrease and the dynamic of the country will decline seriously. In addition to a security issue, accidents happen all the time. We never know when flood or landslide occurs. We need to be clear that money is not almighty. Only public infrastructure can give you secure. It can provide shelters to avoid natural disasters. You don't think that money is more important than life, do you? According to the State Council Information Office of the People's Republic of China, in impoverished areas, risks have been mitigated for more than 7,700 dangerous reservoirs and dangerous large and medium-sized sloughs. More than 3,900 kilometers of river embankments have been built or reinforced, and 14,500 kilometers of new medium and small rivers have been improved. By upgrading the equipment, the overall operation rate will be above 95%, and the troubleshooting time of the equipment will be within 66 hours. And the average quick report of earthquake areas of magnitude of over 4.5 will be provided to the people's governments at all levels in a timely way with less than 10 minutes. So, as we mentioned before, the obesity problem is related to the life and death of the people. So the poor people can't even survive. How can we alleviate poverty in the welfare program? And people who live will also lose hope. Besides, it will also cause a loss of population and labor. So it's both fatal for the country and the individual without public infrastructure. So Contra framework has successfully proved that public infrastructure can alleviate poverty better than welfare program, and it can bring people out of poverty and prevent them from falling back. So we should win this debate. Please vote for the pro. Thank you.
The first crossfire, please.
So judges ready? And opponents ready?
Yeah.
So first, let me ask you a question. You said in your contention 1.1b that it is pension. However, I have several words. However, according to research, the insurance minimum to pay a total of 15 years can get pension. So in welfare program, the people even don't have the job opportunity. How can they have pension?
Okay, so the thing is the government is paying for these people for them to be able to support themselves because they aren't able to do it right now because they're old and you know the old people can't work that well, right? And because they can't work as well as the young people.
Only they have worked for 15 years. And how do they work? They work by public infrastructure because public infrastructure gives them job opportunities.
Okay,
so
but we're talking about what happens right now. And what happens right now is that we're helping them get better and sustain themselves with pension. And now it's my turn to ask a question. Okay, so can you see your contentions?
About?
Like both of them, because we can't really
our contention 1 is about the economic benefits, and our contention 2 is about self-security issue. So now, as I answer your question, please answer my previous question that you didn't understand minimum pension. because pension is for people worked for 15 years. And in welfare program, how can they work for 15 years? So only with opportunities given by public infrastructure, they can have pension, right?
Okay, but we're talking about right now. Again, we're talking about right now, and here we are providing them because they have to work when they're young, for them to provide themselves, right? So we agree on that, right?
What
Okay,
happens right now is that
which
they
is why we can
cannot
provide them with
pension.
pension now, right?
What is happening now is that they cannot get pension because they haven't worked for 15 years. So if they are not giving out money, so they have not jobs, only public infrastructure can give them job opportunities. How can you?
Okay, but as I said again, now the old people, they cannot work at all, which is why we need to give them pension. And then wait, please let me finish my sentence.
Understanding about
can you let me finish my sentence? And then we can provide them with alternatives that my partner will expand on later, so that we can still provide them with a life. Okay, so now it's my turn to ask a question. Okay, so how is preventing accidents going to help poverty?
Because if people dies in welfare program, how can you alleviate poverty?
Okay, so let's say that you save the people, okay? But like, how are they supposed to have a living?
Well, like what we said on contention one, it can public infrastructure can give them job opportunities and can bring the economic benefit to the whole village. So you're not.
Okay, but if they just came out of the like an accident, for example, how do you expect them to work really well? Isn't that why we need to provide them with better healthcare?
Well, we didn't say not to use welfare program at all. The topic is that increased spending. So with the money given in welfare program now and increased spending on public infrastructure, we can get better.
Your time is up. Thank you.
1 minute prep time, please.
Okay. Your time is up.
Another 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, I can start now. My time starts now. Firstly, my opponent talked about economic benefits, which is receiving jobs and having sustainable income. But actually, among 30 million people in poverty in China, 80% of them are disabled people. Also, the health status of rural poor in China is not optimistic, with 51.63% attributing their poverty to the illness of household members. NCD says the biggest health threat to the rural poor in China. Currently, there are more than 1 million urban unemployed disabled people, together with the new disabled labor entrants and disabled laid off. The job opportunities are short in demand. In addition, the remaining poor are the most vulnerable segment of society, like the eldest, the chronically sick, or disabled people, said Matteo Marquiso, the International Fund for Agricultural Development manager for China and Mongolia. So all of those people don't have the ability to work, and even if my opponent built infrastructure for them, it still can't benefit them. Also, the outbreak of the coronavirus that causes COVID-19 has brought factory production to a standstill in many parts of the country. You call on the nation to create a standardized safety net to protect the most vulnerable groups, including people with disabilities, the elderly, children, and ethnic minorities living in the geographically challenging conditions. Many migrant workers are yet unable to return to work despite the central government's disorders for productivity to what who said. So in crises like the COVID-19, the weak structure of these jobs provided by infrastructure will be gone. So then we need welfare to given to them for them to sustain themselves. And secondly, my opponent talked about welfare stigma, and the welfare stigma for receiving assistance was almost meaningless in the face of pressing needs for food and other necessary goods. Mass media should pay attention on the orientation and publicity, promote the reversal of individual attribution to possibility for poverty, and make the public realize the important effect of social structural factors on poverty. Current social assistance procedures that are too strict should be reformed, especially the democratic appraisals and frequent and long-term publicity and the posted notice. A mode that can be better protect the privacy of assistance recipients should be a topic for eligibility determination, such as a current pilot promoted the construction of check mechanism for assistance applicants' family financial situations in all districts, and publicity of using a post notice to announce recipients should be phased out to reduce the procedural stigma of the assistance recipients. And also my opponent said that the increased spending in infrastructure is necessary, but actually increased spending in infrastructure is impractical. Between 2011 and 2013, for example, China used more cement than the US did throughout the entire 20th century, a total of 6.5 gigatons. The value of the market for mega projects worldwide, meanwhile, is estimated to be US $6 to $9 trillion per year, or about 8% of global GDP. The trouble with mega projects is that they seldom live up to expectations. Most are delivered late and fail to deliver the benefits promised. Up to 90% of projects suffer cost overruns. This is the iron law of mega projects, says Professor Friedberg. Over budget over time, under benefits over and over again. Mega projects can be successful in functional and symbolic terms while failing completely on the economic front. Sometimes to a spectacular extent. The Channel Tunnel, Sydney Opera House, and the Scottish Parliament building all underline this point. As well as exploring the challenges of mega project management, the book provides penetrating analysis of where and why problems arise. So, and the same thing is actually happening in China. So, increasing spending in infrastructure is not feasible. Also, while few observers dispute the vast quantity of new funding is flowing into rural China and the absolute quantity of infrastructure investment is rising, a number of researchers have expressed concerns over the quality of infrastructure projects being undertaken. For example, Zhao states that rural infrastructure in China is the best characterized as being poor quality. Several scholars have cautioned that although many villages in rural China had been linked with outside worlds in the new rural expansion movement, the quality of these roads is poor. The roads are too narrow and the pavement is too thin. Many lack drainage system. Even only after a few years, some roads are full of cracks. And the system teams from the Henan Provincial Bureau of Statistics characterize the irrigation system in part of the province as rural areas as seriously flawed. In many villages in Sichuan and Chongqing, drinking water facilities are failing, and rural residents. So for all of these reasons, we urge a pro ballot. Thank you.
Okay, so Judge, I would like to have a 30-second prep time, please.
Time is up.
Okay, so ready. Opponents ready. My time starts now. As the affirmative resolution that in China increase spending as the negative resolution in China increase spending on welfare program is more effective at limiting poverty than increase spending on agriculture. So now I'm going to rebut our opponent's contentions. According to your contention one, you think that the welfare programs can lead to the unemployment. You think that the welfare programs can solve the unemployment problem. However, I will tell you that it's wrong because the infrastructure does a lot better on the job problem. Infrastructure construction can create jobs. It also solves the problem of employment. In 2018, 13.61 million new urban jobs were created. 5.51 million unemployed urban workers were re-employed, and 1.81 million people who had difficulty finding jobs or employed. There were 9.74 million registered unemployed in cities and towns at the end of the year, and the registered urban unemployment rate was 3.8%. The surveyed urban unemployment rate was 4.9% at the end of the year. A total of 49,000 employment families were helped to find employment for at least one person in each household. 28,000 college graduates were selected and sent to grassroots units to provide service of 3 branches and 1 support. So by the end of 2018, a total of 9.88 million people poor rural workers with registered cards have been helped into employment, as China has invested 105.79 billion yuan on the infrastructure, which is a third of our total spending. We see it has affected the job rate here in China to make it higher, as ongoing ILO work demonstrates that up to 2,200 workdays can be created per kilometer of district roads rehabilitation, which is part of infrastructure. However, our opponents are having the evidence that to prove that the infrastructure can solve this unemployment problem effectively. So you can see that welfare programs are a lot better than that. And according to their contention too, they think that tackle the pension problem. However, our opponents haven't even understand how the pension system works. When we are discussing a topic, we should first get to know how this system works. Let's look at the system of the pension system in China. Well, according to the 7th rule of 2017 Social Security Regulation, if you want to get the endowment insurance then you need to pay the Social Security for 15 years, and also you need to have the salary. So if you don't work, then there is no pension. However, as we all know that poor people do not have jobs. So however, where does job come from? According to the first connection that I have about jobs come from public sector. So we can see that few people that you talk about can enjoy the pension. So if you can prove that what the poor you mentioned have paid more than 15 years of Social Security and now receive pensions, then we can assume that you agree with us. And also, according to your connection 3, you talk about the education and according to connection 2, you talk about the education and health care. However, I want to say that these are not welfare programs; they are sub-infrastructure. According to our definition, the infrastructure both contains hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure, and this contains the government services. According to Professor Daniel Nian from the Time Weekly, April 21, 2020, the key to China's new round of economic development after the epidemic should be soft infrastructure, including strengthened social soft power through the development of medical care, public health, education, public housing, hospitals, homes for elderly, and urban parking lots. As we can see, your convention is all talking about the benefits of public infrastructure, so you are agreeing with us. And also, there is no use to have education and medical care without hard infrastructure. For example, if you want to get education, you have to go to a school, and if there is no school near your home, you can't get education. So you can see that what you are talking about is all impractical. So according to our framework, we have successfully proved that increased spending on welfare programs is not more effective at alleviating poverty than increased spending on public.
Your time is up.
So please vote for the count. Thank you.
I believe it's a crossfire time now.
Okay, so judge ready? Opponents ready? Okay, so my time starts now. First, I want to ask you a question. The welfare comes from the taxes. So where is the taxes from? Where are the taxes from?
Well, now the taxes is already enough for increased spending on welfare.
Okay, so since you haven't directly answered my question, I will tell you that the taxes come from the infrastructure. So if there is no
don't come from infrastructure,
then there is no welfare. So what you talk about is
Can you explain why taxes come from infrastructure?
Okay, so first, for example, you're in a hospital, and this hospital, because it has salaries, then it needs to hand the taxes to hand a part of the taxes to the country every year. So you can see that the taxes.
But the truth is, you can't afford to go to the hospital.
Firstly, I'm talking
money
about this
to go
problem.
to the
I'm
hospital.
saying that if there is no public infrastructure, then there is no welfare program. So you're not paying attention to me.
Yeah, this with hospitals. It indeed is kind of the way that you can give taxes to the government. But in most other ways, the taxes are just directly given when you are buying goods.
And also, according to our opponent's rebuttal, they think that there are this and
I believe it's my turn to ask the question now.
However, how can
It's
you
my
prove
turn to ask the question
people
now.
with disability can't work?
This is already your second question. It's my turn to ask the question now. So how can you alleviate these people from poverty when it's in the time of crisis?
When they are in poverty, the public sector, according to our definition, also includes some infrastructure, and this contains government services, and the government services can provide them guarantee. So you can see that
No, it can't. You're saying in your side that you're creating jobs for these poor people for them to sustain themselves. However, as I've proven in my rebuttal speech, that in crises like the COVID-19, people can't go to these infrastructure to work and to earn money. So in these times, we need to give them unemployment insurance for them to sustain.
I want to tell you that COVID-19 is a very rare case. It doesn't happen all the time. And secondly,
you can't guarantee when will you can't guarantee when will there be a crisis.
And don't interrupt me, please let me finish.
A few years ago, there's a few years ago, there's a trade war, and it's happening now. COVID-19 is a. Can you let me finish?
Can provide the materials and can provide materials for them, so you can see that public sector can provide more help to the poor in this situation.
Yes, then how are you going to help these people? Only if we give them welfare, then they can have money to sustain.
Our money cannot be tied.
Time is up. Thank you.
Judge, I need a 1 minute prep time.
Okay.
Wait, but isn't it my speech?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, it's pro side summary speech. So.
Sorry.
Okay. So is everybody ready? So my time starts now. In my summary speech, I will be talking about a few clash points, including economic growth, finding jobs, and spending more money in infrastructures, and it covers all of our points. And so our framework was that the side that could both elevate relative poverty and absolute poverty in the shortest amount of time wins this debate. So that we are not only aiming to help those in relative poverty, but also in absolute poverty. So if we successfully prove this, then we win this debate. And we also agree with prioritizing, but we are prioritizing people's lifestyle and their lives. As how are they supposed to get the jobs if they don't if they can't even work anyways? And thirdly, my opponents didn't even respond to our healthcare point, which means that they agree with us that healthcare actually helps the people in need. So first of all, building more infrastructures, but the evidence just suggests that over half of the infrastructure investments in China made in the last 2 decades, the costs are larger than the benefits they generate. So why would they even use this? And our observation was that there was a 31% overspend on these projects on average. So why would we spend something that is already doomed to fail and something that's already in place? So it's like about finding jobs, but and they said that only 3.3% or 9% of the people are got jobs from their job thing. But the thing is, this is not a large percent. This is hardly even 10% of the people in China. And as I said, the main reasons given for people failure to work was 7%, followed by low qualification levels and skill 90%. And the main reasons for getting not work were health problems with 54% and family situation because they need to take care of their dependents 33%. So even if there are jobs, the people can still not go because they can't work because they are sick, or they are providing for their people that are sick. So this case isn't going to help poverty at all. So first of all, unemployment insurance, but in the end of 2019, around 205 million people in China were contributors to the unemployment insurance. So people are already getting welfare from this, and they are being able to support themselves while they still can't find a job. And so pension, but since introduction. But we are saying that people have already met the requirements needed to do pension. Since its introduction in 2009, 89 million people has started receiving payments under the new rural social pension scheme. So, and this means that 125 million people, 60% of the age 60 and over now receive a monthly pension these days. So the people can actually still use it and develop education. So we are and so like our opponents are just saying that the schools are more important than the actual students and the actual teachers. But we are saying that without the welfare programs, the people still cannot get education anyways. So why would we spend more money on a stone gray building, right? So now, for all the reasons above, we urge a pro ballot.
Judge, I need a 30-minute prep time. 32.
Your time is up.
Okay, so judge is ready. And opponents ready? My time starts now. As a con, we negate a resolution that in China, increased spending on welfare program is more effective at alleviating poverty than increased spending on public infrastructure. So first, I'm going to rebut your framework, your definition. The definition says it has relative poverty and absolute poverty. However, relative poverty is better for public infrastructure because it can cover more people. And you didn't have any other definitions other than poverty, so you should use other definitions. And now, I'm going to say why all your conditions doesn't stand. According to condition 1, it can create job opportunities. However, public infrastructure does better on creating jobs because as we have proved in our constructive speech and rebuttal, so I'm not going to repeat. And according to condition 1, point B, you think that there is pension. However, pension works that people work for 15 years and giving in money. But they are poor people. Jobs are created by public infrastructure as we proved in our condition 1. So you are agreeing that we should use public infrastructure. And according to condition 2, point A use according to condition 2, using that there is education and healthcare. However, education and healthcare are soft infrastructure. And according to our definition, soft infrastructure refers to the benefits related to public infrastructure. So without so actually those welfare and education are soft infrastructure. And without hard infrastructure, there is no education or healthcare. For example, if there's no school or hospital, how can you give welfare? So we have already agreed that we should increase spending on public infrastructure. So now I'm going to prove why our condition still stands to the end. According to condition 1, public infrastructure can bring job opportunities to individuals and bring tourism industry, technology development, and basic services to the whole village. And combine the economic benefit for both individual and village can help alleviate poverty while having money. But in welfare programs, the government is paying for a black hole, and it doesn't know to pay money back, and the government pays every year. So compare this to public infrastructure is the best way to solve poverty and need to increase money. And in your rebuttal on condition 1, you think that disability persons can't get public infrastructure. However, there is a program called poverty alleviation through setting investments. And that helps the disabilities. And according to data, 3,000 RMB was given by 2020, and this involves 35,000 registered village in 471 countries, and that includes in disabled persons. And according to our condition 2, public infrastructure can provide shelters, dams, and other things to prevent natural disasters. It can provide safety to the poor. However, in welfare program, people only get money but don't have any protections. People may die any time. So if the poor people can't even survive, how can you alleviate poverty? So in your rebuttal, you didn't actually rebut our disconnection. So we assume that you are all agreeing with us. So we have, according to our framework, has successfully proved that public infrastructure can alleviate poverty better than the welfare program. So please vote for pro. Thank you.
Okay. So can the crossfire start now? Is my opponent ready? Yeah. So the crossfire starts now. Why will these rural areas attract companies to invest in it?
Because with the investments or because with the increased money on public infrastructure, it can bring tourism and industry to the whole village, as we proved in our condition 1. If you are asking this question, then you're not listening to us carefully.
Well, actually, in these poor areas, all those poor population are sparsely populated. So,
well, you have no
so
evidence.
instead,
Question.
can you let me finish? Can you let me finish? So these big companies, they will benefit more if they invest in big cities instead of investing in all those rural areas.
How can you prove that?
However, you don't have evidence to prove that because since you don't have any evidence from high details, so we can say
I'm
that
sorry,
what
but
you are
isn't it just
saying
like a
is your
known
imagination.
fact? Wait, but isn't that just like a known fact that if you spend more money on a higher technology
Well, if
place,
there's no
the
evidence, it's
income
not
will
a
be
known
great
fact.
because
And
they're
according to your
higher in like the
contention
rural
1,
area
someone
people.
you think that there is
And do you have the
tension.
evidence
However, you
proving
don't
that
even
this
know how
doesn't
tension works.
exist?
Please let us finish because we answer your question.
Okay.
And
With
so according to
follow up,
1,
follow up. Then do you have the evidence proving that this phenomenon
yes,
doesn't
because we
exist?
have proved in our condition 1, you're not listening out carefully. So it's
Then
our
can you
concern,
repeat
our
what
question.
you
According
said
to
in the
contention
condition 1?
According to your material of according to your connection, when you talk about jobs and you also talk about disability.
So Judge,
However, I
my
want to
opponent
say-
isn't answering my
answer
my question. So that means they agree with us. Okay, you can
Okay,
continue.
can you not interrupt me anymore? Okay, so now I want to tell you that the jobs it's not the disability people that cannot work. How can you prove that disability equals to not working?
Okay, but how can you prove that the disability people can actually work? Because
Like
as
what
we
we
said,
say
about
are
80% of the people
common
have a disability, and disability means that they're less advantaged than normal people. So why would people even want to hire them?
It's already
So that
common
means
sense that
there's a program
disabled
called
people
alleviation
can't work.
through SAC investments. This is a real program, and that can benefit the people with disabilities.
And also,
I'm sorry, but isn't that
how-
program part of the government program, which means
Yes,
it's
it is.
So should we provide more welfare and then
No, it is
like
provided by public
But
infrastructure.
just
Because
where's these
according to
disabled
state,
people's
because
income
according
coming?
to NCSE
Where's the
research
disabled
packet,
people
it
income
says
coming?
that it can in 2016 the state has restrained in planning to increase the average household income to 2 million households registered with incapacity,
tell me.
including disabled persons.
what's more, you
Then tell me, where's the income of disabled people coming? Where's the disabled people's income coming from? Where is the disabled people income coming from?
Like what we said, you were not listening to us carefully.
They can't
Your
work,
time's
so
up.
they
Thank
won't.
you.
So their income can't come from work. So then we need welfare to support them.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Just use up all my prep time for final focus. Okay, I can start now. My time starts now. We have several winning issues in this debate. Firstly, about time. My opponent is arguing that we need to increase spending on infrastructure to benefit all these people, either in working or in education or in healthcare. But actually, it take a large amount of time for all these infrastructure to be built, like building these hospitals and building these schools. When you build the hospitals and schools, when you build all these hospitals, the people who are now in cancer, they may have already died. And also in education, when you build these schools, these people, a whole generation of poor people have already passed the age of learning. So we need to give them welfare now, instantly, for them to learn. And secondly, in cases of crisis, we can help these poor people more instead of my opponents, because in cases of crisis, these people can't go to the work, and even if they go to the work, their income is low. So if we give them welfare programs, they can still sustain themselves and be alleviated from poverty. And thirdly, my opponent completely didn't respond to me saying that to in my rebuttal speech, talking about the quality and the feasibility of increased spending. So that means my opponent agrees with us. And fourth about relative poverty. And the relative poverty, and there's indeed absolute poverty in the rural areas, but also there's relative poverty in towns and cities. These people, they already have sufficient infrastructure. What they need is actually what they need is actually the what they need is actually the welfare programs to afford all those infrastructure. And third, my opponent completely didn't rebut our healthcare contention, and also they mistaken our unemployment insurance contention. We're saying that unemployment insurance. Can you let me finish my sentence? So what we are saying in our unemployment insurance contention is that when these people can't work or they've gotten out of work, we can give them welfare for them to sustain themselves. For all these reasons, we urge a pro ballot. Thank you.
Okay, so Judge, I want the order left prep time. Thank you. Okay, so Judge ready? Appendix ready, so my time starts now. And now I'm going to summarize the whole debate. I will summarize it within two clashes. The first clash is about your contention 1 and our contention 2, which talks about the money problem. According to your contention 1.8, you talk about jobs and you also talk about disability people. However, it is a known fact that most disabled people can work except extremely serious ones. For example, do you think that hairless people can't work? And also, you also think that what we talk about is not feasible. However, according to the 2019 statistics, China's GDP has already reached 1920 people. Of course, it is entirely feasible. And our connection to has talked about demand. However, because since our motion is talking about which way is better to increase spending. However, our opponents what they talk about is only whether it is enough or not. So since the wafer programs are already enough, so you don't need to increase spending on it. And the second question, I will talk about your contention two and our contention one. According to your contention one, you talk about education problem. However, we have already proved in our rebuttal that the carbon literature does a lot better on this. And also, we have talked about the Medicare problem, and we have rebutted it. And you have agreed with us that if there are no hospitals and there are no medical care. And so you have agreed with us that the wafer programs are that the public literature are very effective. So we should increase spending on it in order to make sure that we can maximize the benefits of it. And also, our opponents also talk about the time problem. However, I want to tell you that the public literature does not start still now. It is always public literature, and not all the public literature are start after we have this debate. So we should do more to ensure that. So please vote for the count. Thank you.
So judges, if you finish up your decisions, please vote on mini program so we could see the results. So thank you so much.
I voted already.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, I think the results are out.
Oh, yes. So this is a 3-2 ballot, which means this is a really close debate. 3 of the judges vote for con side and 2 of the judges vote for pro side. And I will just start with our feedback since I'm the minority. So for me, this is a really clear debate for me to judge because of like con side did not actually engage with pro side, and most of the direct engages that in your cases make me feel really weird. So first of all, I will have some suggestions for both teams. So first of all, both teams still have room to improve. First of all, is respect your opponents. Do not keep shouting out, "Could you let me finish first?" The whole crossbar. So if you do that all the time, which means nobody will hear anything from you and your opponents, which does not happens in most of the rounds in public forum debate. Second of all, do clear impact weighing. The structure of what my opponent is talking about, what we are talking about, the structure is good. But most of the time when Kansai uses, you do not have any clear impacts and warrants to claim that, which makes feel that you just basically reclaim what your opponents claim and what you claim and just reconstruct your whole case. So third of all, I need the voting issues and collection points to be addressed properly in summary speech and final focus. I think pro side did a really great job with claiming the collection points and voting issues, but for con side, I think most of the time both of them just do rebuttals for me. So the last point is if your partner drop points or arguments in summary speech, bring them up in final focus. This is a suggestion for both them. So for the education part and the employment part, so sometimes when your partner did not talk about this, so you need to talk about in final focus, which will by the judges vote. Oh, okay. So host, I vote for pro. And the other reason for me to vote for pro is Khan did not actually prove to me that why public infrastructure is effective and efficient, and don't give me really clear efficiency for me to rely on. And pro, the whole impact outweighs Khan, and they define their cases successfully and attack their opponents sharply. So that's why I basically vote for pro. Yeah, but this is a pretty clear round for me. Yeah. Anyway, congratulations to both teams.
Okay, I'll just continue with that because I'm also like the minority who votes for pro. So yeah, I completely agree with the previous judge, and I just want to add a few other things on how I see this debate. So firstly is that I think my biggest problem with con is I think you guys' case and how you arguing them are a bit too assertive for me. That is to say, I think you really need to explain your arguments. You really need to prove your claims instead of only stating them out. I feel like a lot of your like arguments throughout the debate is just claiming that this is for us, yeah, this is like right. But you really need to explain that. For example, if you're talking about this, if you're responding to like disabled group or like vulnerable group, I'm really not sure like to what extent that is true. For example, they can also get a job or have a like income to sustain their lives. It's a bit assertive that I think you really need some more evidence to actually support that. Or you give more logical analysis as to how you think disabled people can also benefit from the system, or how you think disabled groups are like less important in this debate, or having like less importance than other what sort of things that you want to argue about. So yeah, I think you really need to focus a bit more on that. Or for example, if you're talking about like, education or like healthcare, you can't just say that no, education is actually ours, or like healthcare is actually about public infrastructure, right? You need to actually explain why like education or healthcare belongs to your side. For example, whether you have evidence that there are already like sufficient construction in the status quo, like not sufficient construction in the status quo, that you actually need to build more like hospitals or like schools in the first place, or you have other evidence or like analysis showing why this is necessarily the case. Yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest issues I have with Khan. So really try to prove your cases and claims, and don't just be too assertive, say, yeah, this is right and that is wrong. Second thing I think Khan could possibly improve on is impacts. I really do feel like, especially in the latter half of the debate, like till the end, I think Khan's impacts and your contentions remain a bit vague for me. Meaning, I think you've spent far too much time like rebutting your opponent's point, and I could get that you're always like to try and point out why they're like flawed. But the thing is, till the end of the debate, I'm not sure to what extent do your impacts stand, and what are the magnitudes of your impacts. For example, if job creation, like what are the magnitudes, and do they still stand till the end of the debate? I'm kind of like unsure of that, and I think in the latter half of the debate very much fell to the pro side, because like two sides are quite too focused on pros contentions. And that's how I think Khan should really try to keep defending your own case and don't like drop them. Seem like dropping them. Yeah, that's like the two things that I think Khan could possibly improve on. But overall, I think this is a really interesting debate. So congratulations to both teams for making it here. And congrats to Pro as well. Yeah.
Okay. I voted for the Khan side because for me there was two major arguments or clash points that convinced me to vote for the Khan side. I think so. The previous judge, as she was saying, that the Khan, I felt like the Khan has this argument that counter this education and the healthcare argument by saying that is included as a soft infrastructure in terms of the services. So that made me convinced like this could be solved with the help of infrastructure. And then the other one was the first contentions from both sides: unemployment rate solvency versus infrastructure job creations. So I felt like if you have that welfare programs, whatever kinds this could be, that might not be much more sustainable if you have an employment, even a small salary employment, and then you can make your living from that. And then these were the two major issues that I felt that made me vote for the Khan. But overall, it was good. Thank you.
Okay, so I think both teams did okay. I was not like too blown away by any of like you guys, but yeah, well done for getting to the final. So I think that with regards to like engaging each other, Pro did an excellent job. I feel that I could clearly understand your contentions, and I knew what you were talking about. Con, on the other hand, like had issues with like audibility, like how audible you were when giving your speech. Okay, but then again, as I said, I think that I'm gonna side with the previous judge. Yes, with him with regards to the fact that I felt that some of your arguments were sort of favoring Con in a way. So then again, I was torn between what actually is welfare and what actually is soft infrastructure. So that sort of made me vote towards Con a bit. And I'm just gonna give like some general feedback. I think that you should be like attentive enough. I understand the fact that during speech delivery you're busy like preparing your speech and all that, but make sure that you avoid contradictions. I mean, Pro was talking about unemployment insurance, and Con, you were just talking about job opportunities. obviously that was not what Paul was talking about. They were referring to the insurance that the unemployed get, not the fact that they were going to get employed or welfare was going to give welfare was going to give the unemployed jobs. So try as much as possible to be attentive when it comes to during this whole thing, and then try as much as possible to be clear when delivering your speech. Regardless, I think that you both deserve to be here, and congratulations to the winning team. To the other team, better luck next time.
Okay, so I'll just give my feedback. I think all the judges have actually said it all, but I went in for the quant team because I felt probably their arguments kind of outweighed that of the pro team. And then with regards to their speech, especially their summary speech, but from the onset, as Sandra just said, their constructive speech wasn't really clear, and then the speaker wasn't that audible, so we couldn't hear that what exactly they were saying. But the arguments along the line actually were kind of stronger, and then they provided much more cited evidence as well as examples with regards to their contentions and arguments. So that's why I went in for the con team as well. And then the pro team actually did great as well, but all the same, congratulations to the con team, and then both teams as well. Congratulations, even in your future tournaments as well. All the best.
Okay, thank you all judges, and thank you opponents.
Yeah, thank you judges. Thank you opponents. Have a nice.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, judges, and thank you, opponents.